The NBA regrets ever taking these players in. The NBA is one of the largest and most popular sports leagues, in not just America, but the entire world. Every year, there are 60 new players drafted into the league, the new players being signed onto each of the 30-team, 15-man rosters. With there being that many people in the league, as well as all the roster turnover every year, there are going to be some bad apples that make their way into the league. However, they are skilled enough to allow teams to take a chance on them, despite possible character and locker room issues that they could bring to the team. However, sometimes players cannot stay in line with the team and league rules, and as a result of this, they are forced to be suspended. Some for just a few games, and some for an entire lifetime. Other players sneak their way into the league in full scouts. However, once they make it to the league, their true colors and skills show, and they are shortly forced out of the league because they simply cannot compete with the elite competition in the NBA. Today, we will be looking at some of those players, and covering some players that the NBA regrets ever taking in. Kyrie Irving. The first player on the list is Kyrie Irving. Admittingly, we are starting with a little bit of a stretch on this one, but I just wanted to get it out of the way. Nothing about his game or his life choices would lead the NBA to regretting allowing Irving into the league. He plays quite a big role in the league off the court actually. He is a higher up on the NBA Players Association and will be involved in conversations that will determine the future for NBA players for years to come. In terms of his game, when Irving is healthy, he is one of the best point guards in the league. He has spent time on the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, and this season with the Brooklyn Nets. He has only accomplished much with the Cavaliers, with his career-defining moment up to this point being the cold-blooded clutch shot in Game 7 of the NBA Finals over Steph Curry. However, the reason that the NBA might regret taking Kyrie Irving in is because of his recent comments that may put into motion a plan that shuts down the entire NBA as we know it, or at least dilutes the talent of the league to a point that it is nowhere near the league that we know today. According to a report from Yahoo Sports, during a group chat with Nets teammates, Irving proposed that players can start their own league. It is clear that Irving knows that the league would not be pleased at all if they found out that he had been forming a plan to create a new league to compete with the NBA. And if his plan somehow succeeded, the league would without a doubt regret taking him in and giving him a platform in which he was given the power to make a move like this. Anthony Bennett. The next player on the list is Anthony Bennett. He is a player that fits right into the previously mentioned mold of fooling scouts and not being able to compete with the NBA competition once they make it to the league. The Cavaliers shocked the NBA by selecting Anthony Bennett with the first overall pick of the 2013 NBA draft. He would go on to go down as arguably the biggest bust of all time. During his time with the Cavaliers, he would not start a single game on a struggling Cavs team that would not even make it to the playoffs. He would then be shipped off to the Minnesota Timberwolves in a trade that paired Kevin Love up with Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. Bennett would only last a season with the Timberwolves before he would end up with the Toronto Raptors. After his one season with the Raptors, he would only spend one more season with the Brooklyn Nets. In only 4 seasons, Anthony Bennett would go on from being the #1 overall pick to out of the league. Bennett would only start in 4 total games during his time in the NBA, and finished his time in the league with career averages of 4.4 points, 3.1 rebounds, 0.5 assists, 0.4 steals, and 0.2 blocks a game. While it is not the NBA's problem that the Cavaliers made the mistake of drafting Bennett with the #1 overall pick, it is not a good look on the league as a whole when the first overall selection goes on to be one of the worst players in the league in such a short amount of time. Richard Dumas. Richard Dumas is one of the most interesting stories of the NBA. He was drafted by the Phoenix Suns in the second round of the 1991 NBA draft. He had a really good rookie season, averaging 15.8 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 1.8 steals a game. He seemed to be on top of the world, and even made the all-rookie team after his first season in the league. However, it would all begin to go downhill for him after his rookie season. He would end up being banned from the league the following year due to violating the league's banned substance policy. And after he checked himself into rehab during the 1993-1994 season, he would never end up being the same player that he was in his rookie season. If he continued to progress his game and build upon his rookie season, he could have been a great role player to play alongside Charles Barkley, and with Dumas' help, it is possible that they could have even broken out of the Western Conference to make it to the NBA Finals, and possibly even find a way to take down the Chicago Bulls dynasty at least 1 year. While drug addiction is no joke and nothing to make light of, and it is a good thing that Dumas went to rehab before it was too late, it is still never a good look for the NBA to have a drug problem in their league, especially after the NBA had a whole era in their history in which cocaine was running rampant. Roy Tarpley. The next player on the list is Roy Tarpley. Tarpley should come as a cautionary tale as to what can happen if you play with drugs. Tarpley played during the 80s in the NBA, and this was an era that cocaine was running rampant in all major sports leagues. Tarpley was selected 7th overall by the Dallas Mavericks, and would go on to spend his entire NBA career with the team. In his first stint with the Mavs, he reached his peak in his 5th season, in which he averaged 20.4 points, 11 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 1.8 blocks per game. He was a walking double-double, and one of the best players in the league during this time. However, after his 5th season, he would be suspended indefinitely from the league for usage of cocaine. He signed a 3-year, $20 million deal to play overseas in Greece during his suspension, and eventually would be reinstated to the NBA. During his returning and final season with the Mavericks, he would average 12.6 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 1 block per game. Sadly, only 20 years after he retired from the NBA, Tarpley would die at the young age of 50. It is unknown what his cause of death was. However, some have theorized that it could have been brought on by his use of cocaine and alcohol, combined with the stress on his heart from playing basketball professionally. Brad Davis, a player development coach of the Mavs, said, "If Roy had stayed healthy, he could have been one of the top 50 players ever. He could do it all: shoot, score, rebound, pass, and defend. We're all sorry to hear of his passing." Chris Washburn. The next player on this list is Chris Washburn. Washburn is another player who was banned for drug abuse. He was the 6th player in NBA history who was banned from the league for life due to drug use. He was the 3rd overall pick of the 1986 draft, notoriously the same draft that housed Len Bias, who tragically passed away the day that he was drafted due to drug use. Washburn would only play 72 games in his 3-year NBA career before he was suspended for life. He had career averages of 3.1 points and 2.4 rebounds. Washburn left North Carolina State for the NBA after his sophomore season. He underwent treatment for drug use in January 1987 and tested positive for drugs in August 1988. He was then suspended for the 1988-1989 season. Washburn was part of the cocaine epidemic that was plaguing the league during the 80s, and sadly took the lives of many, and cut the lives of even more NBA players short later in life. This was the problem that was the top priority of NBA Commissioner David Stern during this time, and he eventually would weed out the problem, and today you have not heard much about cocaine popping up from NBA players, outside of Malik Monk, who was recently reported suspended from the league due to cocaine usage. Javaris Crittenton. The final player on this list is Javaris Crittenton. He was involved in the notorious gun incident. The only reason why he is on this list rather than Gilbert Arenas is simply the fact that Arenas was a much better player than Crittenton. He sold more jerseys and tickets, and as a result, if the league was given a decision to never let Crittenton in the league or never let Arenas into the league, they would have chosen Crittenton, without a doubt. An article from AJ Perez from USA Today explains the situation between the two, saying, "The 2009 event, in which Arenas brought out 4 guns and Crittenton brandished his own pistol in a confrontation, had nothing to do with gambling debts," Arenas said. It was, however, traced to a card game on a team plane, where Arenas said it was about calling his bluff, as Crittenton lost on a hand won by teammate JaVale McGee. The plane lands, and now Javaris says to JaVale, "So you're gonna let me lose my money like that? You ain't even gonna be a real expletive and give me a chance to get my money back?" Arenas responded, "Javaris, I will burn your car while you're in it. Then we'll find an extinguisher to help you expletive out." And he says, "Well, I'll just shoot you then." I said, "Man, I'll bring you the guns to shoot me." 2 days later, on December 21st, 2009, the locker room confrontation took place. "Hey, expletive, come pick one." Arenas said he told Crittenton as he pointed to the 4 unloaded guns he had laid out, "I'm gonna shoot your expletive with one of these." Crittenton responded by pulling out his own gun, one which Arenas said was loaded. Both were suspended the rest of the 2009-2010 season, and each faced criminal charges in Washington, which has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Arenas pleaded guilty to a single felony count of possessing a gun without a license, and was sentenced to 30 days in a halfway house and served 2 years of supervised probation. Crittenton was sentenced to a year of probation as part of a plea deal for a gun possession charge. The events of that day in the locker room detoured Arenas' NBA career, and effectively ended Crittenton's. Crittenton was arrested on suspicion of murdering a woman in Atlanta in August 2011 and pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in 2015. Combining the gun event, which left both Arenas and Crittenton suspended for a substantial amount of time, with Crittenton going on to being arrested on suspicion of murder, it makes him much of a bigger stain on the NBA's record than Arenas, who went on to have a very quality career and was one of the best scorers of his time along with a player favorite. Final thoughts. In conclusion, there are quite a few players in NBA history that the league, knowing what they know today, may not have allowed the player to enter the league to begin with. However, not having that hindsight at the time of the players entering the league, they just might regret letting them into the league. Whether that be a player possibly trying to form an uprising like Kyrie Irving, a player being one of the worst draft picks of all time like Anthony Bennett, players who fell victim to the cocaine era of the NBA, like Richard Dumas, Roy Tarpley, and Chris Washburn, or a player being too caught up in a dangerous lifestyle that would lead him to doing a substantial amount of time in prison, like Javaris Crittenton. Thank you for watching another UpNext Sports video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment with some players that we missed, and make sure to join us next time for more basketball content similar to this.